Hi everyone, welcome to this very special episode of The Cutting Room, created for and voted by our Patreon supporters. My name is Luke, and with me are the Doppelganger Special of Westy and Matt.
Hello.
Hello.
This is the third and final part of our video on The Truman Show, where we talk about our highlights from the film, then we give it a rating. First off, we're starting with the highlights.
The highlights, this is where we each choose our favourite scene or sequence in the film, and I'm going to go first. I'm going to go with the flashback scene where we're introduced to Sylvia, played by Natasha McElhone.
Yeah.
I like it because from the start I've been thinking, because, I just came to this again 24 years later, couldn't really remember it. Yeah. I was thinking, this is all really convenient that things are just all of a sudden falling from the sky. The car radio goes on the fritz at the same time, and all of a sudden Truman starts to become suspicious. But this scene shows that things haven't been going smoothly for quite a while, and that these moments of on-set mishaps maybe serve just to bring back the emotions that he was feeling when he met Sylvia, or the flashbacks to his dad's demise. The setup of the scene is great, with the flash of smiles across the campus, Marlon playing the shittest trumpet ever right in Truman's face.
For ages. Ages.
Great moment on the dance floor with Truman trying to catch a glimpse of his dream girl. Yeah. That stolen, whispered conversation in the library, which is really nicely acted by the two of them.
Yeah.
And I like the crescendo to the scene with the beach setting adding to the drama and desperation of the situation.
Yeah. There's some great lines in that as well. If we don't do it now, it won't happen. I love that. I think that's great. I love Linny as well, the way she's coming in and out of this.
She's falling over.
It reminds me of like Wayne's girlfriend in Wayne's World.
Hi, Wayne.
Psycho Hosebees.
I think particular praise needs to go to McElhone here, because I think she does very well, considering she's got limited screen time and she's got even more limited dialogue. Yeah. She provides a layer of emotion that I think is really needed for the film. It provides Truman the motivational kick in the pants that he needs. And I think it is emotion that's missing in the writing slightly. Without McElhone in the role, the film could have missed the emotional hit that it needs for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's not rich with emotion, but it just manages to cross the line, and a lot of that is down to Natasha McElhone's performance. Great. Yeah. I mean, the character is possibly just a whack job because she seems to have devoted her entire life to someone she doesn't know, but a nice sequence nonetheless. I really like it.
Yeah.
Matt, what about you? Favourite scene?
Yeah. I'm going for Truman and Marlon on the bridge just before the big father reveal, because I think it's the tipping point in the film. Yeah. So I think this is where it switches from something that's been quite funny in that satirical kind of way to getting quite dark and disturbing now. And there's so many elements at play in this scene. I think it's brilliant. It's Truman at his lowest ebb. He thinks he's seen his father, but he's being dismissed as a crank. He's tried to escape, but everything has stopped him from doing that. The forest fire, he's had to turn back. Even Merrill is cracked, so he knows something is up. And here he is pouring his heart out to his best friend. And this is what I mean about Emmerich's performance. He's just an absolute bastard in this scene. Just lying, looking him straight in the eye and lying to him. But it's where that Marlon is getting all glassy-eyed, like he's got a lump in his throat.
And the last thing that I would ever do is lie to you.
He's given an Oscar-winning performance.
That's it. This is his Oscar clip. This is what he's thinking. And it's like I mentioned, it's the slightly wooden soap opera type acting, but it's just convincing enough to work in the context of the film. It's brilliantly judged. That line when he says, if everyone was in on it, then I'd have to be in on it too. And you can see in his eyes, he's like, I've really sold that line. I've really sold that line. What elevates it even more for me, this is the first glimpse of Christoph. As we've said, feeding the lines, manipulating the scene. Love that shot where you see where that really foreboding music is coming from, and it's the actual composer on set, and that's one of the film's composer playing the synth.
Right, nice.
Very nice.
And it's one of my favourite unsettling shots, just that slow pan across all the faces. Because for me, this is the first time I realised, God, it is so controlled, Truman's life and Truman's environment.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, it's a brilliant look at how television and film does manipulate audiences. And emotions, easy on the fog, go on the crane cam now.
Yeah.
All in service of what is essentially really terrible plot twist that his father mysteriously back from the dead.
Yeah, it's like Dallas.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's very Dallas.
It was all a dream.
Everybody's whooping, thinking they've pulled it off. But I do think this is where Truman realizes something's truly up. I think this is where he realizes he can't trust Marlon. Marlon is on it. It's ridiculous that my father's come back. Everything's too good to be true. I'm going to have to do something. Yeah, I think it's just a wonderful scene.
Mm-hmm. Very much. Westy, you're going to bring up the rear? Bring it home?
Bring it home. I'll bring it home when Truman gets home finally.
Yes.
And conquers his fear of the water, and he's screaming at nothing, and he wants to get out of there, and he's just basically done now. And it's when the boat just hits the wall.
Yeah.
And that was so surprising when I first seen it. And
surprise,
it is now. Yeah. It's like, and he kind of reaches up to it. And it's a great performance from Carey because he doesn't do it face onto camera. He does it away from camera. Mm-hmm. Like he's got his back to the camera, and you can kind of just sense his relief or his emotion of just like, I was right. Yeah. Here we go. And then he finds the little step to walk on. And you go, well, he's just going to walk forever. And then them stairs happen. And it's like an Escher painting. I'm sure it's probably based on a real painting somehow from somewhere. But we've got that very same scene. If you go to Tynemouth, there's them steps on the pier. And every time I walk past there, I go, Truman Show, just there. That's the way out. Go and have a look. The Westie Shore. Like, I've got to swim over and just get out, but I'm scared of the water. And the way he goes out, and there's just that last sequence between him and Christoph, with Christoph as the voice of God. And it booms through the clouds and booms through the sun, and he's kind of looking up towards it. And then there's that incredible final line, in case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
It's brilliant. Everyone is kind of happy it's over, which I find quite weird if they've dedicated their lives 30 years watching this.
Yeah.
And then there's a celebration at the end of it, and he just walks into darkness. So I don't know. I mean, I love it. I think it's a great sequence, but I don't know if it's just a little bit too easy to end the film like that, because they could have went somewhere. And like we're saying, we've talked about this darker version of the film. Yeah. It's satisfying.
Yeah, it's satisfying. That's what it does, isn't it? It ends on a high. It's a positive, isn't it, really?
It is. And she gets up and goes out, and you kind of go, they're going to
stabs him, probably.
Probably, yeah, with one of his own pins through his neck. Like, how's it all going to end? Like this, motherfucker. That's how I would have ended it. But yeah, I mean, it's great. It has got that triumphant kind of vibe to it. But I don't know if that lets the film down. I honestly don't know if it does or not. So I'll probably come up with that in my summary and let you know what I actually think.
Oh, wow. Okay, tenderhooks for that.
All right.
Very good. Okay, well, 3 of the best as usual, fellas. Good choices.
Yeah, sure.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for, the big verdict. Matt, why don't you go first?
Okay.
Truman Show, summary and score.
Truman Show. It's a film like I struggle to see getting made today. And getting put into the cinemas. This is something I think someone made it today. They'd be like, put that one on Netflix. No one's going to go to the cinema to see that, because all it has is an idea. Yeah. And getting audiences in on an original idea is really hard. And it has to be remembered, this was a massive hit. I think it made like 280 million on a 60 million budget. So it did
huge.
Really well. Yeah.
Very surprising.
And I know people like Nolan and Jordan Peele have big original hits, but they build their films around action or horror, or you're going to get scared if you go watch this. The Truman Show can't do that. It's just like, it's an idea. Come see this idea and think about it. So I really love it for that. It's just a great concept with an actor proving that he's more than the comedy star that he was pegged as. And that for me is where the brilliance is with the Truman Show. And I think Peter Weir just does an excellent job of taking all those elements, that script, those performances, that design, and packaging it all in a way that probably did surprise a lot of people. I do think there are flaws in the film's logic at times, like when Truman has been sat in his car watching the same people walk round and round. I don't know why they would be walking round and round.
That. Yeah,
exactly.
That's too convenient. And like I said with the writing, there's a lot of darkness in there that I wish it had kind of addressed a bit more head on. It's kind of smoothed the edges off a bit to make sure it's still a safe Jim Carrey film to watch.
Yeah, PG.
But I still, exactly. Yeah. But I still think it's one of the most unusual films of the 90s. It is really thought-provoking. I don't think people really appreciate how much it did pretty much predict the future. So I think it's a great film.
For that.
I do love it. It's a 9.
9. Wow. Yeah. Very nice. Impressive score. What about you, Westy?
I mean, I'm pretty much the same as Matt, but I wish probably a little bit more it had that darker tone, not because I'm just consistently miserable and I'm horrific. It's just, it would have been better to explore this. I mean, looking at it now, to explore it the way Stephen King did, I think he went too far with The Running Man and writing that and having that kind of premise. Hunger Games, it just went too far, and it just seems a little bit, unreachable. But for something like this, where you've got someone like Peter Weir who can really take that emotional psyche, that human psyche, and twist it and make people believe certain things. Like Matt said, it does smooth the edges out, this paranoia where, is this happening? Is it not happening? Are they my friends? Are they not my friends? It could have added, I mean, look, you're going to hate this, but you could put an extra half an hour on this film and really explore them.
Yeah.
And really explore them.
Could. I know what you mean.
Darkness and the characters could have been developed a little bit more. And I think it has a lot to say, and it says it really well, but it says it a bit sea babies for me. It is a little bit soft. It's just missing. It's good to watch now, and I guess it's just the year it was made. And if it's going to make it again now, they probably would address them issues. Yeah. But I would like to have seen that extra element, that little extra element of darkness, that little extra element of adult and maturity. And for me, it gets an 8.
An 8. Fantastic. Yeah, well, as I said at the top, I'm not the biggest Jim Carrey fan. One of the reasons that I hadn't seen the film in almost a quarter of a century. But on revisiting the film, it's not the only reason that I haven't come back to it. I have got a couple of niggles in the writing, but that aside, I mean, it's a magnificent concept, and I think it's well executed. Yeah. I really don't have any complaints about the film. Carrey's excellent in the lead. The supporting cast are great, particularly Linny and Elhorn. I really like them. But it's not a film to really get me jazzed up. Nothing wrong with it. It's just, it doesn't necessarily push my buttons.
Right.
I don't think that'll be a surprise from both of you to hear.
No.
I really enjoyed it this time around, but I wouldn't be surprised if I don't watch it again for another 24 years.
How's your dad going to feel about that?
Well, I mean, I'd be surprised if he was still around.
He will be, just to piss you off.
Just to piss me off.
Still talking about the Truman Show.
I got a great recommendation here for you, Dad. I remember that fucking Truman Show.
Then he dived off the side of the boat.
Yeah. Give him that ring back.
Alzheimer's, but that's all he can remember.
Yeah, Alzheimer's just lying there in bed, just going, the fucking Truman Show.
So this score is based on all of that I've said. It gets, like Westy, an 8 from me. Very good film, but not one to get me overly excited.
No, too soft. I think it's too soft.
Sure.
So with all the scores in, The Truman Show gets an overall 25 out of 30. A strong performance and a fair score, I think. This episode of The Cutting Room has been specifically created for our Patreon supporters, and as always, there'll be an accompanying audio podcast version if you were that way inclined. Thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. They've always got our back. Very loyal, really help us to continue to put out this content, so thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, thank you guys, much appreciated.
Yeah,
thank you.
It.
Yeah,
thank
great.
You.
If you could continue to spread the good ATRM word, we would really appreciate that. Get everyone hip to the sounds of all the right movies. Get them subscribed to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media. All of that, guaranteed satisfaction.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And if you're into drinking beverages, I like the All the Right Movies mug. Perfect for hot and cold drinks.
As do I, Luke. I also really enjoy the baseball cap and T-shirt combination, which not also looks good, but says, hey, I know my movies.
Perfect.
Yes.
Shameless.
All the right movies, Coco.
From Mount Nicaragua, I've heard, Westy.
Very nice.